What the fuck is wrong with us? What the fuck is wrong with all of us? Yeah, sorry, headphone users, but I'll try and dim that down as much as possible. Welcome to the Three Body Narrative. We are your podcast hosts, Pradyum and Naeem, and we are here to discuss everything pop culture from TV shows, movies, games, you name it, we're probably there. And for today's episode, we're going to be reviewing Peacemaker Season 2. So, what is Peacemaker Season 2 all about? Well, it's after Season 1, of course. But in Peacemaker Season 2, Chris Smith, aka Peacemaker, faces the fallout of his past while confronting a mysterious alternate world where his life turned out perfectly. But as new enemies surface and old wounds reopen, Peacemaker must decide what kind of man and hero he truly wants to be. All right, Naeem, let's start with your rating for Peacemaker Season 2.
I don't know, man. I think 3.5 out of 5 is what I'll go for in this case. I could have gone for a 4, but like I don't know. I feel like I'm repetitive in some of the reviews, but damn, I had a problem with the pacing in this series, especially the episodes. I think 3, 4.
Really?
There were
Okay.
episodes in the middle that were like for me quite on the slower side, and I think it's only for that fact that the pacing and some of the side story arcs I wasn't also the villain I wasn't entirely convinced with on a like considering some of the villains we've seen, and I think coming off of what we've seen recently in terms of Hamish in Gen V, even though it came later, like post Peacemaker, but it's come out like we reviewed Gen V first, and we're reviewing this now. So in comparison to that, I think this season's villain or his arc didn't seem as scary until the very end, where things kind of
Yeah,
really change.
okay. I'm intrigued because I really want to discuss what about
Right.
that. But go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think until that point, I just felt like I don't buy it, kind of a thing on certain levels. Uh, but like leaving that out, my God, like for me, this one especially, I could really see John Cena acting, and that to me was like brilliant. Like, I mean, see, as much fun as season one was, I think this is where the real his acting chops really come or like are in the forefront. They're playing to his strengths, but even when he's needed to kind of be that emotional person, they kind of do it in a way where it does not feel jarring. And to me, that was absolutely nailed. Like it was bang on in terms of how it was portrayed and done. So kudos to John Cena on that front. And I think 3.5 would just be for him in terms of his performance alone in this series. So yeah, I think it could have easily been a 4. It's just that the pacing was at times so bad for me that I kind of was like I really wanted to kind of just like hit the forward button at some parts to kind of just get moving on the conversations. Especially, I think one or two conversations between John and Harcourt.
Yeah.
That whole sequence kind of like was getting very, I don't know, it was too lengthy for me at times, and it just felt like maybe if they just cut a scene here or two, kind of would have really made the pacing better and made the overall quality of the show a lot better. But I love the cliffhanger. Absolutely love how that has been set up personally. Um, of course, it's meant to kind of lead into Superman, the second part, so we'll see how that goes. Had a great time with some of the side characters that I didn't think I would be seeing a lot of. But what's the guy with the? Is he called a dragonfly? What's he? The green
Judo
uh,
Master?
judo master. Sorry,
Dragonfly?
I don't know why it is dragonfly, but like I don't know. Maybe I've seen a dragonfly in one of the Suicide Squad movies or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but nonetheless, yes, Judo Master it is, and I really like that mini arc they have for him in the alternate universe. So yeah, all in all, I had a good time with the series, I suppose. Yeah, leaving out the pacing here and there.
All right, so I think I gave Gen B a 4, and I really like. I didn't have too much of issues with the pacing there, and I think here I'm torn between a 3 and a 3.5. I probably would still stick to a 3.5, and not for the same reasons, or well, kind of for the same reasons. Is while I didn't really mind the pacing while I was watching it,
Hmm.
like upon reflection, I felt like the latter half was so rushed, and I felt that could have easily been pulled to the middle. I think there was a lot of things that I think the whole twist, or the what is it, like the realization that Peacemaker has in that alternate universe of what it actually is, could have been done a lot earlier. I think we and the audience also maybe would have caught on to it a little earlier. We definitely, I at least I did. I think I kind of did notice certain things, or I had a few doubts about that universe, and I felt like that maybe could have been done a little earlier, giving us more time to explore that entire multiverse side, explore I don't know, the Lex angle a little more, explore, I think, a lot more on that side, and given that universe a lot more, even have a lot more of a threat from the father and the brother, or have a deeper conversation there. I felt that entire resolution ended quite quickly, and I wish I had spent a little more time. I didn't, I think, as compared to season one, where I loved the pacing, I think everything hit the right tones, and exactly I spent the right amount of time with the right people there. I think here I maybe wish I we spent a little less time on John and Hardcore, because I kind of knew that going in, that I know the relationship is like that. So I didn't want it to be, I didn't want them to kind of hit me on the head with it every 2 minutes, saying, okay, they're not, she's not all right, or they're not okay. And it just became a little too much. But overall, yeah, I think a 3.5. I'm curious to know about the villain, because personally, I didn't think that there was a villain. If anything, the villain was that universe, right? Per se. But
Okay.
but for me, I think I enjoyed a lot of things. I did have a few questions about certain questionable choices made by certain characters, and maybe we'll come to that a little while later. But I loved the ensemble performance. I loved Economos. You're right. I think John Cena's acting really showed up here, because man, those scenes, especially that scene with the brother towards the end, right? It was difficult to watch. It was really really nice. Even the earlier scenes, so it was really nice to see that vulnerable side of him. Was really fun. But yeah, Vigilante, love the guy. um I mean, his relationship with his mother hit all the right notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
was just thinking like this character, it's like leaving out the aggressive nature of the character. I think this is a perfect Pradyum fit character, especially in the way he deals with his mother. So it's like bang on that. But
yeah,
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 really fun character.
it's really fun. I liked what was happening with Adebayo as well, with her sort of pursuit to become this, her own person, her own individual being. And yeah, I think overall was nice. I like the Eagly arc also slightly. I'm a little sad that they rushed it, but I think there was a lot of tension there for a greater part of things, like, because we know that, I mean, things do happen in the, in these sort of superhero universes. And you know James Gunn can also take certain risks. And so I kind of was thinking he'd take that risk, but glad to know that it did happen. But overall, yeah, a 3.5. And I wish it was better. I wasn't a huge fan of the cliffhanger in the sense that it was okay. I don't know where this leads to personally.
Hmm.
I know there were a lot of people who hated on the finale just because I think they were hyped by the fact that James Gunn had said that this was going to like lead directly to Superman, and I think they were expecting a few other cameos to pop in. So, but I
Okay.
didn't know any of that. So I didn't know any of that, and going in, I didn't have that kind of expectation. But even then, I was like, okay, I mean, now what? And the fact that he's come later out and said that there's not going to be a season three, most likely, has made me even less sure of, okay, was that the right ending to kind of have, right?
Oh, but I mean, it doesn't need to see. He's also very smart in the way he phrases it, right? He's saying there is
I
no season two for Peacemaker, season three for Peacemaker, but it doesn't mean that that's the end of John Cena's arc. Obviously, he's got a bigger role to play, probably in the DC universe.
Yeah,
And you never know. There might be another series that pops up that's called Checkmate or something like that. You never know how that works out, right? So
Judah
we will,
Master. Judah
yeah.
Master season one, Vigilante season one. Yeah. No,
So
overall, yeah, I think that's my rating. But let's get to talking about the show. And I think the first thing I want to kind of we both hinted upon, sorry, is the villain arc. So who did you think the villain was in
yeah,
this?
I don't see. The thing is, you can't fault a father for wanting revenge for having his son killed, right? Like, I mean, or his child killed rather. But in that sense of thing, in the way that Peacemaker is our protagonist in this series, and anyone trying to get him killed or like in this case give him an abrupt end altogether is a negative or a negative character or an antagonist or whatever you want to call him, right? Like, so that's who I view as a villain. In addition to obviously the initial Peacemaker that you see in the alternate universe, because it
Yeah.
was like a crazy cameo that specific character has, and of all the things you kind of hear about him over the course of the season, it's like, my god, that Peacemaker was a piece of work, to say the least. uh yeah, so I think, yeah, like I said, don't fault the father for wanting revenge, but I think it's also important to understand context, which again, like, when you lose a loved one, I don't think anyone's thinking straight from that perspective. So I
Yeah.
understand that justification. What I meant by this, like in this case, like he's supposedly a villain, right? Like he's the one chasing after a Peacemaker, and what that is like when I'm watching him or in the scenes that he's there, I don't feel this dread or like put Peacemaker in a room with this guy and I'd be really shit scared for Peacemaker kind of a thing, like
Hmm.
I would either is he someone like I thought maybe he's damn smart in the way he kind of does things and stuff like that. But in all honesty, the way the season went, it was a lot that the others around him were doing than he himself was doing, to be honest. So
Yeah.
uh, the only thing was he's good at getting the right people in place to kind of do that work for him. Feel all that supposed to make me feel that in a way. Like I really felt that I think in season one with um, John Cena's father. I mean Chris's father for the short while that he was there as well. So I think that's what was lacking in from a villain's perspective for me, and wasn't really convincing. Again, that's my perspective and my thoughts on it.
I understand that, and I think that's fair. However, for me, for someone who's watched Creature Commandos and a show where Rick Flag plays a big role in that, right? Rick Flag Senior. I think that's his first appearance in the DCEU, and he's in a more animated character, obviously. I thought So there are two things. So there, he's not the antagonist. He's obviously the protagonist there, and he's part of that squad, right? That is meant to be saving that. He's not smart, clearly in that, right? And he gets his ass beaten quite a bit. So for me, it's like I didn't really expect him to be this suave villain of sorts. I think he was efficient. He was trying to. Obviously, he's got the power now that they've given him Argus to control, and he's got that. Now, unfortunately, the people in Argus are not smart, right? Are not the greatest of people, like sort of minions, except for maybe what's her name? Um, the cyborg.
Oh yeah, the cyborg. I don't remember her name, but yeah.
Yeah. So she definitely was the only one who actually obeyed orders and actually had a sort of role to play. And I think she was the only one who had a real threat there. However,
The
I think,
guy with the economos, other than the guy with economos, right? Like who kept uh, going
yeah.
out on missions and getting his ass whooped.
I need to know the one with the bird blindness, which is hilarious. I think that's the best sort of illness I've seen in television history, like bird blindness and yeah. So oh yeah, it was Bordeaux. So Sasha Bordeaux was her name, right? And the other one is, if I'm not mistaken, let me just see quickly. And it was, yeah, Tim Meadows is the guy. Tim Meadows plays Flurry. Yeah, correct. So Flurry is the one with the bird blindness. So yeah, but honestly, I think Bordeaux was the main sort of one who could actually obey orders and take things seriously. But with that being said, I think the when I was talking in my rating about certain characters having questionable choices, Rick Flag Senior, I know this is probably a personal vendetta and he wants to get Peacemaker, but some of the choices and some of the decisions that he make, and especially towards the last few episodes with the kind of people he's mingling with, right?
Hmm.
When you're talking about Peacemaker, and it felt like it was going from Peacemaker to becoming a larger thing about superheroes. That felt very different to what he was playing in Creature Commandos, right? And I felt that felt a bit off. However, there are hints, not there are hints, but there are discussions or talks and rumors that maybe that's not exactly the Rick Flag senior,
Okay.
and that could be a Clayface or someone like that, right?
In
However,
Creature
no,
in the
in yeah, Peacemaker. Because like I said, if you watch Creature Commandos and you see the sort of decision that he makes and it's for the good of the people and it's good for the team and everything. I get the personal vendetta against John Cena, but it just felt later on the kind of people and the way he was acting, it felt very off. Now I don't know,
mm,
it could not be, it could just be a Rick Flag senior, you know, mismatch. But I would really like it if it was something different. It would be nice because it did feel a bit off, and there were questionable choices, especially towards the last couple of episodes where he was letting the team go into those multiple doors and into the
yeah.
multiverse and letting them die, and he didn't care whatsoever. I think that seemed very very not Rick Flag. Right? So that's something that I was a little like, huh, okay, I guess maybe with whatever he's trying to do, I don't know.
Interesting enough, that's when I was like, my God, this villain is like crazy. Like he doesn't really care about anything. The world is gone. Like because initially it was all about um, getting one over Chris or getting revenge for what he had done to Rick Flag Jr. But then eventually the whole universe thing and how he goes about sacrificing people without any of those things, it just felt like. And plus, he then gets into cahoots with Mr.
Lex.
Lex, and I was like, okay, like this is taking a whole other turn right now. And I think at that point it felt a little more okay, cool. Maybe it was like for this season in itself, he was not supposed to be that big bad kind of a thing. That wasn't. It was just about setting him up for what's to come in the next few movies or series, whatever it is that James Gunn has planned. If the DC universe gets to continue once the
Yeah,
sale happens, as and when
yeah,
that, we'll let you guys know. Keep following our stories to be updated on that front.
yeah. I get it. I think for someone who's not watched Creature Commandos, that's a perfectly sort of explanation or feeling to have. It's just that because I've seen the character in its previous sort of form, I was like, it just didn't feel right. But okay,
Yeah, now
let's
that though
yeah.
it makes sense because we have a Clayface movie coming out. So interesting how that kind of then lead.
Honestly, honestly, there've been in the past two outings with James Gunn, there have been two instances where I thought Clayface was going to make an appearance. Okay. Now there's in spoiler alert, I guess, for anyone who's watching too. I think I will. So spoiler alert. So maybe just skip this next 5 seconds or so when I'm going to mention something. But in Creature Commandos, Clayface does make an appearance. I won't tell you how, but he does make an appearance. So I then thought in Superman, again spoiler alert, that the Boravia.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of had that feeling too. I was
I
like,
think when we
maybe
did our review, we mentioned that as well.
uh,
Yeah.
probably recall about the review, but definitely for sure, when I was seeing that guy, I felt like, okay, maybe this is Clayface.
Especially when he
Uh,
goes into that room alone, I was like, oh, this guy's gonna transform.
yeah,
So that was there. And now this was the with Peacemaker, I thought they was maybe gonna have I mean he's a shapeshifter, so you really never know, who's who. But yeah, that was my only gripe with one of the characters. I think the rest of the other characters for me acted exactly as I expected or exactly how they were meant to. Now, talking of characters, we have to talk about Peacemaker's arc, right?
hmm.
One thing that I thought they were going to do from Peacemaker season one was, if you remember, the last shot of Peacemaker season one was Chris sitting in his outside on the patio of his RV or his camper van, and he sees his dead father, Augie, also come and sit down next to him.
Oh, is it? I don't recall that.
Yeah, so that's the last shot where you see the butterfly coming and having the honey, and then you see Eagly come. But it's essentially him and his father, or like the vision of his father, I guess, at that point, or the ghost of his father sitting next to him. And I thought they were going to do a Dexter route where they were going to have, you know, his father going to be this sort of ghostly character next to him, kind of prod him and irritate him. They didn't go that route. They instead went the full multiverse side of things,
I mean, I
which,
expect multiverse to come into play at some point. Didn't expect it to be through Peacemaker, but I mean, had to happen at some point, though.
but yeah, with season one itself, they had the room, so you knew that multiverses were going to happen. But yeah, with I didn't expect it that soon. But also, what did you make of his arc? Because it wasn't. I mean, it slowly became. I don't know what. I mean, the reasoning for him moving out, I thought would have just been that he's sad, he's depressed, and this gives him his family and everything, which is part of it. But I think the main thing that they focused on was his relationship with Hardcore, and the fact that
Yeah,
he couldn't get her to love him as much as he did her, and then he kind of went to the multiverse where everything was perfect for him.
yeah. I think in the universe that he is in, I think he's pretty much given up on everything else. Like, I think Harcourt is his final straw,
Hmm.
and that final thing that holds him to that world. And he just wants to see if there's anything that he can explore with her that would give him a reason to stay on. And because when he does visit the alternate universe, he gets, I think, two of the most important things that he never imagined he would have. One, his dead brother is alive, and second, his father, who was dreadful in this universe, is actually a sweetheart in the other one. And I think like that's really something that kind of drives him. And it also turns out that he's able to patch up with Harcourt without any issues in the other universe. So it kind of like is an added benefit for him to kind of move because everything seems sorted in that world. Um, and I love the fact that Peacemaker is so consumed in his own world. And like he's always like, I think that's the best thing about this show, that they kind of show you this just how focused he is on things around him rather than like a more zoomed out view and a holistic view of the world in itself. That comes to like a crazy focus and forefront in towards the end of the series, where it's like, how the hell did you kind of miss that? uh it's clear because it's like he just
Were,
had
were
too
you
much.
were you thrown away by that surprise? Did you expect it?
So thrown away, yeah. I kind of I love the twist that happens in the sense that um that whole sequence, the way it kind of happens was like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was funny to watch. Like I
Yeah.
never imagined that's how they would kind of go on portraying that whole concept, or like that's what's happening and stuff like that. I did, however, in earlier sequences, especially when he goes to Argus and stuff, kind of like see that I couldn't see certain um
Ethnicities.
nationality or ethnicities, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't think of it too much in the sense that maybe this is just how this world is. I did not think it would go the route it did at any point. I'm actually also curious. I wanted to go back, but then I thought like maybe it's also good to bring it up during the this thing itself. So that symbol right at the end, right?
Yeah.
Did That's on his bike as well, I think, right? Or helmet, one,
Ooh,
like bike or helmet. I think bike.
bike maybe. I didn't see it that closely. I need to go back.
I just wanted
But
to know if
it's
in the earlier
definitely
visits that were
it's
there,
definitely there on the Crocs of
it was
somebody's
it
Crocs.
was it there at the earlier this thing before it's actually revealed?
I don't think it would have been. Otherwise, it would have been too easy to spot. For me, I
Really? Or was it? So that's what I'm curious about. I wanted to go back, but then I thought maybe like I'll get done with the review and at that like see me if like in conversation you spotted anything. If not, then like okay, good.
no. Okay, I
Tell
I
me,
need to.
guys, if you guys spotted anything before the actual reveal, and I think Pride you should say what the reveal is so that we can kind of get
So
moving.
yeah, so the reveal is that the universe that Peacemaker finally lands up in, the perfect universe for Peacemaker, is in fact Nazi America. It's Earth X, and in that Earth, Nazi Germany won the war, right? And yeah, we see. For me, I kind of noticed, like, as and when he was going towards Argus and outside, that a lot of everyone who was cheering for him seemed of a certain race. I then maybe felt a little more certain when, the whole Sons of Liberty thing happens, right? So I was skeptical going in that the father was actually this sweet and that the brother was great, and they were called this, what is it, the trio, right? Some trio.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not the terrible trio, some trio though. Yeah. So yeah, so they were these superhero, there's the superhero family, and they were saving the world and all of that. Now, it was when that Sons of Liberty thing happened, and they were destroying the bank, when I was like, oh, maybe that was actually they were actually the good guys. And throughout I was trying to see, and I was trying to even make like consideration saying, oh, this guy is not white, he looks a little tan, so maybe that's not the case. But turns out it was the case that no, here it was in fact Nazi America. And yeah, which was hilarious because when Augie, which is Chris's father, says that he saw himself which is Peacemaker season 1 father in the multiverse, he claims that he felt that that Augie came from a, a worse timeline, like a darker timeline. And now sitting here, it makes you wonder, right? Like, no, definitely no, because you know the universe that, or Earth X, definitely is a terrible universe to be in. However, what do you say about our universe? It's not exactly the ideal one, also. But yes, we don't have people stuck up in camps and then chase them around if they ever get out, which was hilarious.
So, what were they called as one? Was it the Smith family trio? Is what they called?
They would definitely call something. Some trio, definitely. But I will. Top trio. That's what they were called.
Top trio.
Top trio. Yeah, top trio. Yeah.
Or
So the top.
excellent. Didn't think spend too much time thinking about it. Great.
Yeah.
So now that we have the crazy, one of the crazy twists that pop up, I kind of like. I think that kind of leads into also one of my favorite side character. I would say favorite, but like one that I found fun was the uh, judo master side arc that
Yeah.
happens within the, in terms of like, I think judo master until that point was like a very irritating character,
Oh yeah.
but but I think he kind of like redeems himself in that universe, that whole sequence that happens, and how he saves um Adebayo, Adebayo,
Adebayo. Yeah.
Adebayo. Yeah, Adebayo's life, and how he's like a part of this resistance and he's on the good side and things like that. Like I really like that arc, and I also liked how Chili was like just munching on some chips and things like that. Like
Cheetos with a H, like Cheerio. I love that. I like the small little additions that James Gunn's made, like Cheerios with an H, Cheetos with an H, and he's like, Cheetos with an H does not taste as good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
but yeah, I really enjoyed that whole mini arc with Adebayo, and it's kind of like always enduring when you kind of spend some time with some of the people on the other side. Like you obviously have the protagonist and his uh, team members as well, and then you always have these characters that he's going up against. Not always do you spend time with them to kind of understand what is driving them and things like that. In this case it was like kind of nice to spend some time with judo master, and like that wasn't uh, a, a deal breaker, or it wasn't one of those things that slowed the pace down for me. I think that really added value
I love that scene with him
to
and
this.
Adebayo, like playing Scrabble or something. It's not Scrabble, but yeah, their version of it. And yeah, it was really nice. I think that conversation was nice about talking about Chris and getting to know each other. I think that was really nice. I think my favorite character still remains Vigilante. I love
Yeah,
the character, and I love the fact that he found someone exactly like it, because he kept going on about finding his doppelganger or his other self, and I was like, no, that guy is not going to be anything like you. And the moment he goes into that basement and the guy's a little more serious, I was like, oh, okay. But they do the Spider-Man meme and they're like kidding
yeah,
around.
yeah. I
Oh,
love how that was brought into this. I didn't think James Gunn would go down that route, but he did, and I love the fact that they did kind of actually go out and reference Spider-Man. That was bloody brilliant. Uh, and yeah, I think I love the whole thing of, like, it's not hush hush in the sense that we can't talk about Marvel or things like that. Like we can reference about it. It's okay. Like we are two very different universes. We kind of just have to, if it makes sense, then there's no harm in including. And in this case, that whole sequence between both the vigilantes, it just made sense to have that little bit in there. And it was too much. It was a lot of fun. I also like the whole way vigilante is got that relationship with his mom, and how he's kind of like a very irritated kid who just doesn't think his mom is cool, and does not like the fact that his mom is speaking to his friends.
Now,
Um,
I'm a little curious there because yes, that's how it seems that he doesn't like his mom because she's not cool. But I feel like there is going to be a backstory there because in the other universe, he says, "Oh, my father's not gay," and I feel like at times it could be that he may blame the mother for the father not being there in the original timeline, or there. I just thought that there might be something deeper than just like it not being there. But the other thing I love, he's got an entire stash of cocaine and money, blood money, and he
I,
refuses to spend even he's okay to, you know what, kidnap a judge's child, right? Or threaten them. But no, I'm not spending blood money. It's cursed.
I love how they just so like in certain cases they feel like they're like smarter than the opposition, but then they go do something so dumb in opening up a portal door in that in that very
Basement.
filled with drugs warehouse, not warehouse, like storage
Basement.
room, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, basically, yeah. And like it's crazy how it just blows up, and it's like they all have cocaine on them and stuff like that. Someone gets picked up for that, right? It's Harcourt who gets, I think.
yeah. That's what the sniffer dog smells in Argus,
I
right?
don't. Yeah. I actually thought that the whole cocaine thing might have more effect on them, which I think is an opportunity missed. Would have been fun to see uh,
Yeah,
more on that front, more on that side as well. Because I thought, considering the amount of cocaine that just went and on on them, it was
yeah.
quite
I thought they were gonna go high to
on the
the
trip. Yeah,
multi.
like I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
they're gonna do like a whole, like this whole experience in the alternate universe is going to be crazy for them, kind of a thing. But it was crazy, but for other reasons.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, but
Now the other thing I also want to mention was uh, okay. Now we'll come to that a little while later. Now the other one we need to talk about is hardcore and her arc because you know,
mm,
for a long time we just thought she just didn't like Chris because he's this egoistical hunk who doesn't have any brains. But turns out that she was in a relationship with Rick Flags Jr., right? And
yeah,
and maybe also Rick Flags Sr. kept hitting on her because he kept saying like call me Rick, don't call me Sir. And he had a relationship with Bordeaux, which I mean,
yeah,
that's
I know,
someone
I
who's
know.
yeah. Okay.
I, just saying, like, yeah, I felt that what that
You
weird
felt that
vibe.
vibe as well. Yeah, okay. Which is why I'm like, that can't be Rick technically. But anyway, that being put aside, like, uh, I I do understand her feelings for Chris because it's very complicated to kind of spend so much time with someone, maybe care about someone, but that person was single handedly responsible for killing your boyfriend, right?
Yeah,
So it definitely did make, and I think she also had a lot of vulnerable moments where I think she acted quite well, and I think that played off well. But like I think, like you and I agree on, I think there's just one too many scenes on that.
yeah, I think, yeah, definitely. Like for sure, you need those moments, but I think you kind of need to know when to kind of slow things down and then kind of get moving, which I felt wasn't the case in this. And it's not the first time I felt it with a James Gunn series or movies. I felt the same with Guardians
Guardians,
of the Galaxy.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, like I mean, as good as he is, for me personally, I do think he is good in terms of how the DC universe will shape up eventually, because I think he understands comics really well. Um, but I know that there is this tendency of him that kind of slows things down in order to tell a story that he really cares about, and not every time does that work too well for the movie in itself. I think it's doing a more of a disservice as opposed to adding or fleshing things more out, kind of thing. So that's the only thing I would say, like, they, they need to kind of figure out and improve upon, because I think they had the mix much better in season one,
Yeah,
because in season one I felt, um, how do I say this? Okay, so when the first episode ends, you kind of like don't even think twice before kind of moving on to the next story. Like, you don't want to wait that long for the next this thing, right? Like in this case, I was okay to kind of in some parts be like, I think I'll just watch it tomorrow, kind of a thing, as opposed to like, no, I gotta
yeah,
watch it now.
yeah.
And that, for me, like every time that happens, I know, like, for me, that's where the pacing issue lies. It means that it's not hooked me in the right way. While it has a lot of good content or good quality in there, is just it's lacking the crisp that would help make it a better show.
Also, adding to that whole relationship, we saw a similar kind of dynamic play out even in the Superman movie, and I thought there it played out quite well because we had just the right amount of time to know that that relationship is a bit rocky, right? I love that entire monologue, that not monologue, but that entire 12-minute scene where they're just talking and having that interview in Superman, and it
Oh
felt
yeah.
right perfectly there. Here, it felt like I already knew. We spent enough time with Harcourt and Chris to know that that dynamic is there, and it's nice to kind of, yeah, sure, obviously Chris wants to get it out the way and kind of make it apparent that it's either happening or not, but I think every time it was, it just kept going back to it often, and I just felt we get it, we understand it, just maybe now get to the point of either resolving it or finding us another solution, right? And I think
Mm.
that's where it felt. But I think from an acting point of view, I think both of them played off each other quite well. The chemistry was
Yeah.
really there. So I love the scene in, was a Big Belly Burger, where they're both enjoying their meal, the shots, and the singing. And I think it was a really nice moment. Even the boat, whatever happened, I was intrigued to know what is happening in that boat, right?
Yeah.
What happened on the boat? Because man, the first time we hear about the boat, and then Peacemaker goes back home, hits the bong, and suddenly there's an orgy in his house. I was like, oh shit, what the heck's happening? What even happened on that boat? But overall, it was quite nice. The other thing we need to mention is the Eagle
Mm.
arc,
Yeah.
right? Because we do see a brief cameo from Michael Rooker in that. He came in the Suicide Squad movie, James Gunn's Suicide Squad, and he's killed off right in the first couple of minutes, right? Yeah, yeah. So
Really?
he's the one. Yeah, yeah. So he's the one with, like, in the, in Suicide Squad there are two teams. The first team is where like Nathan Fillion and the
Yeah.
reason.
The one
So yeah.
they
So
land on the
he's there. He's the one with the white long hair, but the one who throws the ball and it hits all the walls.
Oh, okay.
And he's
That's
the
the
one who,
same time the kid also goes in, right? Um,
the kid.
yeah, the what was it, TBK or something?
Yeah. That's what Nathan Fillion's character is, right? The one that, this thing.
Yeah, the one that dismantled them.
Yeah, so then you had Pete Davidson, you had Harley Quinn in that, she survives only. You had Captain Boomerang who dies, so all of that. He's the one whose head gets blown off, and then that's how the titles start in
So
Suicide
that's
Squad.
right. Got it. Okay, cool.
Yes. So, no, so he makes again a brief appearance. Obviously, he's a staple in James Gunn's universe, right? Whether it be even in Guardians, he is Yondu. So,
Oh, it's the same character.
oh, you didn't know?
Shit! Damn! I just realized. Wow, thanks. Okay, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So I think he and his brother Sean Gunn are the two sort of staples in James Gunn's. Sean Gunn plays Weasel. Sean Gunn plays Maxwell Lord, who interviews Chris. By the way, we have to talk about that also. The interview that Chris has with the Justice Gang at the
Oh yeah.
start, which obviously was there in the trailer, so it wasn't too much of a shock. But
Hmm.
so yeah,
I
so
had
he comes.
watched. I hadn't watched the trailer, so
Oh
it was interesting. Yeah.
no, wait, we do the trailer together? No.
Peacemaker? Hmm. I think
No,
so.
not for the no. So we did it as a test, not for the channel.
And I probably didn't pay enough attention, or my memory betrays me like it usually does.
Yeah. So I think there were a lot of yeah, a few cameos that way. Lex, of course, big cameo. But what did you make of the Eagly arc? Did you think that took away some of the pacing, or did you kind of enjoy
Yeah.
that?
Um, I liked it to a certain extent, in the sense that, like, I liked the eagle action, especially the first time they come into the house and all of that stuff. Um, but the last bit, especially where that character is chasing down the eagle in itself, and the prime eagle and all of that, I thought that was a little too much. Like,
Yeah.
I personally, that was the case. Like, I'd have liked for that to be shown in another way or something like that. Like, it didn't have to take so much time up. Um, I wasn't too happy about the whole sequence of, like, oh, he's this prime eagle, he's like the leader of eagles. So,
I actually thought there was a lot of jeopardy in that. Not to say that I enjoyed it completely. I think overall, given the culmination of, or the resolution of it, I was like, okay, did we actually require it? But until then, I was quite scared because there was a lot of focus on Eagly, and I don't know. I feel like I think superheroes have also, or superhero the genre and the movies and TV shows have come to this point where they're not afraid of killing off certain characters, right? And so and you could always bring back an Eagly from, say, the other multiverse. So I always thought that was going to be the case, but I'm so glad that they didn't. However, yeah,
yeah,
to be fair, did that role actually do a lot of things? It was a bit gross to see him eat eagle shish, but overall, yeah, I don't think it was that
yeah.
much of a necessity. I think we
Like,
could
the
have done
first
without
one,
it.
it was damn good. It just felt
Oh,
like
yeah,
it played into uh, uh, this whole arc of where he needs to protect Chris in a way where Chris doesn't even know what's happening, kind of a thing. But like the latter bit of it was, I think, not required. Like, this whole chase of the eagle in itself and things like that. It felt more like one of those filler episodes you kind of have in, like, animated series and stuff, where it's just like to buy some time till you have the main storyline ready or something like that. So yeah,
yeah.
on that front.
Yeah, fair. That's what I said. I
Um,
think they could have maybe brought that entire revelation a little earlier, not had this, so then you didn't have that filler and actually make it a lot crisper and extend the ending so that you get a lot of uh, understanding, a lot of closure, a lot of like I don't know, a
yeah, I would
better
have liked to spend a little more time between the father and Chris once the realization happens, because he clearly had seen, like you mentioned, the other version of himself, and he didn't think too highly of him, and perhaps from that, for that very reason, he wanted to see or understand what had happened with Chris, his son, and
yeah.
why, and things like that.
I would have liked a good sit down, a
So
good talk, like a or maybe a couple
yeah,
of just them two, like him saying like just everybody get out, and then them two just kind of having a nice conversation would have really meant a lot. But that sequence of what exactly happens, right, where vigilante just breaks through the window and starts stabbing the guy in his throat, it was just madness. And then of course, yeah, you see them attacking even
is
Chris's brother.
yeah. Yeah, it was insane in terms of, like, I didn't think that was what was gonna happen, but it did, and I was like, man, like, why? And then I was like, oh yeah, but that's vigilante kind of a thing. Like, he thought Chris was in danger, and obviously that's how vigilante is, kind of
The
thing.
one moment
Yeah,
I really like, though, sorry to cut you, but the one moment I really like is when Chris leaves the note saying that he's going to the other universe, and then everybody reads the note, and then you see Vigilante crying and that Adebayo. I really love that montage of them sort of reacting to how what was said on the note and his sort of voiceover. I think that was very well done. I think that's one scene that really stuck out to me because it actually showed that people actually cared about Chris. Like they were
yeah.
truly a family together, and uh, no matter how eccentric each one is. Like Economos, my God, the guy cannot tell a joke for the life of him. And he's so awkward. But I think they each have their strength. They each have their uh, weak points and irritations. But overall, yeah. The last thing I guess we need to talk about is that the door openings or the multiverse meetings, I suppose. The
Yeah,
seek
but before
the
that, I think you want to discuss quickly the interview sequence, right?
no. I mean, there's not much to be honest. Like,
So tell me this: when they mentioned Maxwell Lord,
yeah,
did you at any point think of Maxwell Lord from?
Wonder,
Uh, oh my God! Yes.
Pedro.
Yeah,
It is the
yeah,
same character, right?
yeah. It is right, like an alternate version of,
Yeah, I mean, now that universe
like
does
even
not
that
exist
universe does
any.
not
Yeah,
exist. Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Right.
of course I did. Yeah. So he was there when in Superman he came. So I knew that he was cast as Maxwell Lord. He
Where,
comes as
where in
so,
Superman did he?
so he comes in a small brief cameo where he is in part of an interview on the news channel, like how Peacemaker comes as a
Yeah,
news.
okay.
He's
Yeah.
there when he gets into a jeep or a car and someone asks him, I think, about Superman or
Okay.
something. So I kind of knew that that was who it was. But honestly, I didn't mind Pedro Pascal being Maxwell Lord. It's just the writing was so bad and the movie was so bad that.
Oh, yeah. I don't
But
think I don't think we can fault Pedro Pascal for what that was,
yeah,
considering we've seen him in other roles and we know what he's capable of. So,
yeah.
yeah, let's not dive into that. So, multiverse and getting into that whole setup, that
So
was a
I
lot.
think that's where a lot of people were a little sad or a bit pissed off or disappointed that they thought one of those multiverses would have a cameo or two. One would also kind of hint at maybe the J no ZS Justice League
What is?
ZS. Who is ZS?
I'm trying to recall who ZS is.
Who is the previous Justice League director?
Oh, really?
So there were a lot of
Why?
like people saying that no, that's how they would like end it, or they show how it's collapsing and how the
It's ended. It's ended. He ran. Flash ran and it ended. That's it. There is nothing beyond we need to think. All this, like, again, like, I'm not even gonna get into this debate of which universe is what and all this havoc you see people creating on in the comment section, like bring back. And I'm sorry, it did not work. That vision, whoever, like, I mean, the previous director had that vision, and great that he had the vision, because clearly there are some people who believe in that vision, but the majority doesn't, which means it does not translate in the box office of it. And clearly in this case it has worked, and hopefully it means better things. Like it will be an upward trajectory, if at all anything. Like, I think the tone in itself is very important to understand what the character is like. And to that point, I think Superman was bang on in the sense that it did feel like watching an animated Superman, or reading a comic book of Superman. It had that heart. It wasn't a perfect movie by any means, but it clearly knew what it was trying to achieve, and I think it's well on its way there. We will see how things kind of move on, but
yeah
whatever came before had to meet its end, and it's ended. Let's put it to bed. Let's
yeah
move on.
no, but that was just I think a very far fetched idea. The main idea was that there was going to be a cameo, I think, from David's Superman,
Yeah, but
Cornsworth's
I don't
Superman.
like. I mean, I think people are a little. I mean, again, like I'm a fan too. But I think we have to be a little more realistic in terms of understanding the difficulties of having too many a listers in such this thing. Like you can't really. Everything is tied down to contracts and kind of what that means from a monetary perspective. So everything has implications, and you kind of need to understand that they have to work on a
I
budget.
I think
I
the
think
idea
filling in,
came. I think the idea came from the fact that I think there were pictures of him being on the Peacemaker set. Uh,
Oh,
However, I think that may have been that, they would have been an overlap with him doing a prod or whatever, or doing the reshoots on Superman versus the Peacemaker thing getting filmed at the same time. But I mean, I didn't know anything about it. I knew that this was going to be it was going to lead into Superman 2. That's what I knew. I think having Lex in there was a good enough indicator that this finally does connect in some way, and I think having Lex in there made a lot of sense, given that he is the
yeah.
one who know about multiverses and portals, considering he had one right in his office there in Superman. So and he used it for his personal purposes. Now, with that being said, I love some of the multiverses. The first one, which is the full Candyland setup.
Is that the one where they critters come about? Yeah, right. Oh my
Yeah,
god! Like it looked all fun, and then boom, it just turned, and like
yeah.
shit,
And oh
thin.
my god, the guy's face also, they break in through the mask and then he goes. We saw zombie versions, which is a cool, the zombie side, zombie verse. We saw that entire thing with the skull screaming and all that. I don't know what that part was. Right, the huge spider skull where they open and then they just close
Oh
it
yeah, yeah, yeah,
with the
yeah. Just
lava thing.
yeah.
That would have been interesting. What else? They had the black hole from Superman come again.
Oh yes, yes. They
Yes,
did. Yeah.
so one of the multiverses was that. But overall, yeah, it was nice. I mean, obviously, that was their entire search for paradise, right? That's what they were calling it.
Salvation.
Salvation, not paradise. Salvation, yeah. I think salvation. Or
I
it's not
think.
paradise. Definitely not paradise. It can't be
Yeah,
paradise. Yeah,
I think it
salvation.
is.
So salvation. Yeah, that's the planet. So yeah, that was fun. But like I said, I was a bit apprehensive because the actual Rick Flag Senior would not let his sort of juniors go and do this all by himself. He's sort of the leader figure, leadership
Lead
figure,
from the
and he'd lead from the front, or at least if the first thing happened and they opened the door, Candyland, somebody dies, he'd be like, "No, I'm shutting this thing down." So for
okay.
him, for me to see him kind of be like, "Cool, I don't care," go find me salvation. I'm doing this, and that felt that
Out of
it
character.
out of character, and that's where my sort of apprehension is whether that is him. But with that being said, I think he there is also a personal vendetta or reason behind finding salvation, and that is to lock Janchena into that planet. So, but what do you make of that, or that ending? Like, where do you think it leads on from here? Because he's obviously kept aside in this planet, which, and there you hear a few creatures
Yeah.
in
Dinosaurs, like
there.
right?
I'm guessing, I don't know, but
They sound like dinosaurs to me. So I was like, okay, cool. So, like, what kind of a world is this? Like
yeah,
Jurassic Park meets
Jurassic
Peacemaker?
Park. Yeah. Okay,
uh,
but also, if the rumors are right, the next Superman would feature Brainiac.
yeah, yeah. I
In
think. I mean, I don't know about rumors, but he did post that picture, and it did quite look like he was hinting at Brainiac, and unless he's like trying to pull one over us and
Yeah,
trick
because the
us
other
in.
one would only be Gorilla Grodd, which would
Yeah, yeah.
explain the sort of the environment that.
Yeah, but Gorilla Grodd, I would peg him more as a Flash villain as opposed to a Superman villain, and that's the only reason I wrote rule him out. And I feel like Brainiac is the more extraterrestrial, extraterrestrial um, threat, I suppose, from that
Yeah,
perspective.
but I'm just thinking, if this is going to lead directly into Superman 2, where do we go from here? Because he's obviously in an alternate universe, and Superman's not. there,
Yet.
and not there yet. And of course, the rest of the gang, which was a nice montage of them creating their own office space. Adebayo gets her own setup, right?
Yet.
Yeah, because her first startup idea was very sus, and
What
the
was it called?
Adebayo's special something, and I love the call that she has though,
Which
right?
is? Don't recall
Where
now.
she calls him, somebody calls up Adebayo and she's like, "Yeah, that is me on the poster. I can wear a hat." And then she's like, what's something Greek something?" And then she asks Vigilante like what this is, and he's like, "No, this I don't know what it means, but in like prostitution, this means butt fucking or something like that." Do you not recall
Okay.
that entire
I don't.
conversation?
It's been a while since I watched, so I don't recall
This
this
was
well.
outside that the the abandoned hut that Chris opens up the portal in.
Okay, okay, okay.
So that's where she gets a call from some guy who sees her classified ad.
I think I remember that bit, like the
Yeah.
class. I don't remember the conversation. Was it the same time that the eagle thing was happening as well?
Uh could have just been it's the start of that maybe. It's not exactly during the same thing, but it's just
Because
the
I
start
feel
of
like somewhere there I was like getting a little irritated in the sense
it.
that I wanted to
That is the
different side.
start. I think that's where they hire that Saint Wild or whatever to come catch the
Okay, okay.
eagles. So yeah. But overall, yeah, I think we see the gang do well, and we think everything's going hunky dory, and then we see Peacemaker be shackled in chains and thrown into this dimension. But what do you think of that? Now, let's get back to the question. What do you think of where this now leads into? What is
Hmm.
your
I don't know. I did not see the whole salvation thing coming until it did.
okay?
Like, and once it did, it was like intriguing. I kind of felt bad also. It's like finally Chris had this thing like after the crazy 2 seasons of like having so much chaos in his life. It felt like he had something good going for him, and just as it seemed like it was in place, it was like, nah, you don't get to enjoy this, come here, kind of a thing. And then you get left alone, like after all of that is just like the worst time for him to be left in that world alone, kind of a thing. So I'm interested to see how um, Superman gets pulled into all of this. Obviously, Lex will have a part to play. Um, I just hope they don't make it seem in such a way that Superman can fly at some crazy speed and break through
No,
universe.
I don't think
Have a
that's the case. I think there clearly will be a Lex because Lex gets a deal, right? Because of
yeah,
the because of this cooperation, he does get sent to a better prison than Bell Reef. But um, I'm
unless somehow they get kryptonite into this and then toss Superman into salvation, and that's where he meets.
Superman and Chris would be fun. Though technically,
Yeah,
that wouldn't be the first time that they meet, considering that he was there when that cow in season one explodes at the farm.
yeah, yeah.
It was both Supermans met him. Henry Cavill in season one and David Cornsweet in season one recap. They
Yeah, yeah.
retcon the entire thing. But yeah, that was fun. The last question that I have for you and for us is which intro was better, season one or season two?
I think I love the intro in this one. It was so
Yeah.
damn good. I like the whole dance sequence and everything. Like it just feels like those moves you can like. It's not that I'm gonna do it, but looks fun to kind of reenact. And I don't know. It's just like for something so chaotic and so serious in the kind of things it's dealing with, like guilt and
Yeah.
uh, trauma and things like that. That's the start of the series that they have. Um, yeah, so it's a lot of fun, and especially the first time you see it, it's like, damn, that's not the I didn't think they would turn it like twist it and get so many more people involved and things like that. So yeah, nice.
I
My was
definitely, yeah.
definitely
So I also like the season two song as well. Don't get me wrong, I love season one. I think when I first saw that intro, I was like, "What the hell?" And I'm not the only one. I was like, anybody who's watched Peacemaker, they're like, "The fuck is this intro?" Like, it's insane. But I think over a period of time, it's I think one of the few shows where I leave the intro on. I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
really
Same.
skip.
Yeah, it's usually just seeing him do those moves, and then they all fall down onto the ground in very weird postures,
Yeah,
positioning, and stuff like that. So, yeah, fun. Like coming up with that was pretty cool.
I that's why I think there's no season threes that they've run out of ideas. They're like, enough. We've danced enough. We don't have any more ideas. Let's just
I
get
think
to
he's just playing it too close to the chest on that, in the sense that he says Peacemaker season 3 won't be there, but I feel like there is a mashup in terms of it might just be called uh, Checkmate, because it's all of them together, and that would be probably like obviously post the whole Superman, and maybe just maybe uh, the Brave and the Bold, whenever that
yeah.
comes into fruition, if at all.
I have a very strange feeling that
Bad
he
feeling
might.
about, yeah.
No, I
I
think
don't.
he might just rope in the the other Batman to come in. It's like I he's talking a lot about it, which is like, oh, okay, but
But like
without
in the sense that you mean the one from the
Pattinson.
really?
I don't know. I don't think that would be the case, but it's just like I feel like it's something that he could pull off. But I also agree. I think he's also being he's being a bit non-committal because I don't know if he knows about this whole sale
I'm
agreement
sure he
and this.
knows.
He
I'm
knows,
sure
right?
he
I'm sure. So I'm sure he knows that it's not. But that being said, if it is to Netflix, as the rumors say, then I think Netflix is more than happy to kind of would
See,
continue
I
with it,
think at this point in time, anyone who comes on board, if they try and again
reboot
reboot
it.
this thing, is just too chaotic. I think you kind of just need to understand his vision, and if you don't completely agree with it, then kind of have a middle ground. But kind of, because it's just started the universe, so it's
You do know who is tied with Netflix, right?
oh,
Yeah,
ZS.
yeah.
But it doesn't work, right? Like it's not. See, the thing is, it's very much clear that his vision does not bring in box office numbers, and that is the very reason it failed. It can be as dark, and I'm sorry, but there was a lot of talk about the director's cut of Justice League, right?
He
And
spent.
how that was supposed to be
Yeah,
like, that's the reason why it didn't hit. And it, I'm sorry, but
I
I
remember
don't know what that was.
I remember watching the trailer for the director's cut, and then we were discussing it, and I told you that I think the song that he chose in the trailer was very sort of like kind of said a lot of words to people who slammed the first Justice League, and he's like, "You don't know what it is," or blah blah blah, and you're like, why is he doing this? We don't even know if it's actually going to be good. And I said, okay, let's just give it a shot. And we sat down, and I was like, shit, oh my god, I can't believe he sat down for that. But that being said, I
Yeah,
don't think
like
that's good. That's the
everyone,
route. I don't know. I don't think that's going to be also the route that
I
Netflix
don't think,
or
like,
yeah,
again, uh, it's important to understand what works and what doesn't work. Clearly, that vision didn't work for the majority of people. Just for the smaller portion, yes, it did work. But for me, what was most jarring was some of the characters that were casted. Like, they had brilliant actors. I don't fault the actors, but I'm
couple of them,
sorry
yeah,
about the kind of, no. Some of them were like really good.
yeah, 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 some of them.
I think a Ben Affleck Batman makes complete sense, but the script given, the kind of character you expect him to be, it did not work. It
Yeah,
wasn't Batman. I did not see Batman there. I In no universe do I think Batman thinks of himself as someone who needs to be saved by Batman,
Okay,
by
okay,
Superman.
okay, okay, okay.
Like,
Let's say,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, but that's not happening. And yeah, nonetheless, like, okay, cool. So that didn't work. That's over. So if Netflix ends up buying, acquiring Warner Brothers, I'm sure they kind of, I think it would just make them, it would make a lot more sense for them to kind of let Gunn and Zaslav, if I'm not wrong, uh, continue the reins at DC Studios, because it's just one part of Warner Brothers. I'm anyway sure. Like, I think if that deal is to happen, they're more keen on how that translates for them on the OTT service bit, and how they can kind of, I think, translate the experience that WB has on the cinematic front, and kind of bring all of that together for some of Netflix main properties and things like that. I think that's the main. From what I read, and I've been reading so far, that seems the goal, as opposed to like a major shuffle. Um, so with Netflix, I would still feel a lot more safer about Gunn's role in this. But anyone else, I'm not quite sure, because some of the other parties that I've heard about, I think they would like to kind of get rid of every bit of piece that is there in terms of DC Studios. So I don't know how
Uh-huh.
that works and how what it means for the superhero universe in DC. So we'll see.
Nice. All right.
But I mean, whatever it is, before this whole thing happens, I want to see that second part of the Batman come out, because, in all honesty, I really want to see how that vision ends. Like, I like the first one, so for the most part,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Okay.
Um,
We'll get to reviewing that a little while later. But I guess that's all the time we have for this review of Peacemaker Season 2. Please do let us know what your thoughts were on on the season, whether you agree with us, where you disagree with us, whether, like Naeem mentioned, did you notice something early on that we didn't mention or we didn't notice, whether it be on the helmet, on the bike. Definitely not on the Crocs, because we definitely saw that. And then I guess do the usual: hit the like button, share, subscribe. Please make us feel that this is the ideal universe for us and that we don't have to go search for a multiverse. Until then, we'll catch you all on our next episode. See you.
peace out.